So if we color in all of the gate activations in the throat, what you'll see is that they're all down here at the bottom of the wheel. This is the quarter of civilization, purpose fulfilled through form. Form, communication has a civilizing effect on the form. This is the way I've been explaining it lately. So biologically speaking, every single gate has to do with your thyroid. What does that mean? Well, it's like, I would call it the gearbox, the thing that runs your metabolism. So metamorphosis of the body is regulated by the thyroid gland. It's located in the neck and it secretes hormones. So the stimulation from your anterior and posterior pituitary gland, again, that's in the ajna functioning domain, causes production of thyroid hormones. And almost all body cells are targets of thyroid hormones. Your overall metabolic rate, growth and development, your sexual development, your calcium regulation, your bone production, your bone density is controlled by this thyroid, the thyroid hormone. So over or underproductive thyroid will cause mood swings, weight issues, irregular body growth, challenges with body temperature control, and also energy levels. What Ra said was that he noticed more often than not defined throats, particularly the 3420 channel of charisma, design where thoughts must become deeds, was more likely to have their thyroid removed. Now, an incorrect throat gate can cause, or usage of the throat, hypothyroidism, low thyroid, or hyperthyroidism, too much thyroid hormone. So on the hypo side, it leads to hair loss, inability to think clearly. You might get an enlarged thyroid, they call that goiter, reduced heart rate, strong fatigue, true sensitivity to cold, dry skin, weight gain. Now on the other side, we have the hyper, and that is also going to bring hair loss. On this side, we get bulging eyes. We still get potentially an enlarged thyroid, the goiter again, heart palpitations that can feel like anxiety, tremors, heat intolerance. So instead of cold, you can't tolerate hot, sleep disturbances, and weight loss. If you've ever had a diagnosis, and it's quite common here in the States, I don't know about around the country or the world, but in this country, Hashimoto's, when you go from hyper to hypo back and forth and then eventually land in Hashimoto's, it's another thing that's linked to the thyroid gland. Now, if we think that, so biologically, back to what the thyroid and the throat center is, Ra would call it this gearbox or regulator of the metamorphosis, manifestation, the expression of what it is to be human. So the noisy making box, 11 gates, which is more than any other center. And every single one of them have one biological correspondence, the thyroid. This also leads us to see what is unifying about the throat. It is involved in every major circuit group. The only center it does not have a direct connection to, okay, just looking at this direct connection to, would be the root or the head, so the pressure centers. And that links us to, this is never the authority by itself, unless one is mental projected and you're speaking, but that's a process of environmental projected, okay? It's never an authority. This is never an authority, nor that is never an authority. So it's not about what you say necessarily being what you have to do. Even though you might say, I have to do this, I have to do that. The authority for the heart is down here. It's not coming from up here. Yes, you listen to what you say, but it has to have willpower behind it. The authority for the self-projected projector is coming from here. It's not coming from there. Even though they listen to what they say, they have to feel into their higher self. How does the higher self feel when one expresses? So the throat center itself is about getting attention. You see a defined throat center, they're here to get specific attention. How visible we are is how much noise we make or how much movement, sound and movement. This is communication and action. If you can remember nothing else, throat is about communication and taking action. Now, if we're taking action, there has to be some energy behind it. Yes? So the primary gates of action would be coming from the energy. These are the energy centers that connect directly up to the throat. That means then 35, 12, 45, and 20 are primary gates of action. So unless there's indirect energy, all the rest of them are just talking. They're just speaking. They're not necessarily action. Okay, I'll explain it again in a different way, but just to remind you, getting attention and how visible we are, it's regulated here in the throat by noise, by speaking, by sound, and by movement. So when we look at this civilizing effect of the communication here in the world of form, we are looking at a mutation that started 90,000 years ago in order for us to have language that could commune. Now, language itself is very rudimentary. It's very primitive. Because why? Everybody uses sound differently. People don't necessarily speak when they mean what they say. They don't necessarily speak what they mean or mean what they say, right? So they might lie, or they might pussyfoot around things, or they just might have been growing up in different sides of the world and they don't even speak the same language, like literally, even if they do come together in a common language. It might be pidgin of whatever language, wherever it is that they were born. It just doesn't work as well as frequency. And if we think about frequency as communion or communication, now we're closer to the reality of what we are as nine-centered human beings. We're still in transitus, so I can't communicate with you frequency-wise purely, not really, not like our mutation that's coming in just a few more years. So to be clear, the civilizing effect of the world of form through communication or communion has to come from right action or aligned interaction. And that's why we have type, strategy, and authority. 6 of these centers are connected to the throat. 6 of them. That means those centers have voices up there in the throat representing their awareness or their energy or their direction or identity or their power or their conceptualization. Okay, so it's very specific flows of energy. Because the hexagram has a relationship to the codon structure, gates that are right next to each other in the hexagram wheel have a similar information base at the genetic codon level. So when you go down deep into studying the mysteries, so fascinating. I really recommend that you do what you can to get a copy of the body graph and print it up so that you can look at it. Like as an example, we have abstract and then logic and then abstract and then logic and then abstract and then logic. It's just a fascinating study between, and look at the dynamic here, where we see the foundational, not just the bottom couplets, the 2, but also the very top. It's the same. You see that until we have a break in the chain or in the pattern, if you will. So it's a really interesting, they're not just there haphazardly. There's a step-by-step evolutionary steps, the 64 evolutionary steps that Ra would talk about when we look at these gates. And so to see that one center, all of them in the world of civilization, purpose fulfilled through form, then we know if you were born there, that this is part of where you're here to be clear in your communication, in your action, in order to generate life generators and so forth and so on. Maybe you're guiding. So when we look at the throat, the As above, pressure, moving through awareness to the throat. As below, pressure, moving through awareness on either side, or energy and identity to the throat. You remember that the Ajna center is biologically connected to all other body functions because of the pituitary glands, the master glands. The Ajna is an awareness center that witnesses life. Self-realization or self-actualization comes from you being a passenger, the witness of this life's movie. Ajna is not designed to make decisions, as in your mind is not here to decide. However, many people believing the thought inside of their heads can't be their authority because they give weight to other people's concepts, other people's truth, other people's influence, and so forth and so on. Now, if we look at this throat, it influences the rest of the body. Why again? Gearbox, the thyroid gland, the throat center, as far as regulating the speed at which the fuels from these motors are expressed. How quickly are you going to burn through your energy if you take some caffeine, coffee or pills or whatever? If you take some caffeine and just, maybe you're designed to take it slow. And slow and steady wins the race. Go slow, you get there faster. As in, you don't make as many mistakes if you're not, if you're all hyped up on caffeine and you're really trying to go fast, like a manifesting generator, no emotional system, just pure manifesting generator. Skip steps. I want to get it over with. I want to get it done. Undefined route. The drive and stamina being amplified and distorted. Such a challenge. Everybody has a combination of everything. Now, when we look at the throat center in its duality, remember, look, we got this binary thing going on here. The thyroid gland has a little parathyroid glands inside of the thyroid gland. The throat center, seen in the two thyroid lobes, its biological level, it does have its duality, and then further subdividing that duality into 4 different parts. The parathyroid glands there. So that basic binary biologically shows up like manifesting wise, communication and action, or manifestation. Communication is part of what is linked to manifestation. That's why you hear all these people going, I think, therefore I create my own reality. 7-centered hangover, as in, I think, I believe, I know it's so, but that's all linked to Ajna stuff. And we're not that 7-centered control, manipulate, distort game. We are a 9-centered, which is about having the attunement to the alignment of the source inside of you that's true, whatever your personal authority process is. Most people have an inner process of authority. Mental and projectors and reflectors, it's an outer process of authority, no direct inner authority. So each of these, communication and manifestation, can get paired again. We have communication or manifestation that is defined. That means fixed. That means consistent. The style of speaking or acting, it is something that is married to what this person, this talented communicator, is here for, but in a very specific way. That's not to say that people who are undefined don't have talent in communication. Some of the world's great singers or orators are undefined in the throat. Very flexible, very fluid. So we also too have, again, communication and manifestation that is undefined. When it's undefined, when your throat is open, it just means that metamorphosis, manifestation, mutation, it happens in spurts. It's not always there. And indeed, in fact, all of the throat gates have different frequencies. Remember, the truth of this reality is everything is frequency, everything is vibrating. So is it going to pulse in an off-on principle? Is it going to be timeless? Is it going to be logic, as in pattern-oriented and future-based? Or is it going to be abstract, as in cyclical and past cycles of experiential process-based? It depends on the circuitry, on the frequency, on your chemistry, and what you really came here for, so we can see the uniqueness. Now, I give my students this graph in LYD. You see, we have this very simply. 23, I know or not. Okay, 23. Hello, Laveena knows or not. I don't know. On the other side, we see the 8. And that 8 says, I know. See, I know again. I know I can make a contribution, or I contribute. Or no, can't contribute. Can't teach you. Sorry, not in the mood. You know, it's just an off and on thing. 20, I am now. No, I'm not. I'm not. The opposite side of there, 12, I know I can try. I'm in the mood to try. Or not. Nope, not in the mood. Not going to sing my song for you. Do a little song and dance. I got that from Ra. I think it's cute. On the other side of the abstract, these two linkages, 56 and 33, stop codons in our genetics, meaning the buck stops here at the end of every genetic sentence. There is a stop, as in, hey, we got to learn from this. 33, hi, that's me. I remember, or I don't remember. Okay. 56, I believe, I don't believe. You hear these voices come out of you and they're not true, as in they're not unique to you. You know you're speaking from conditioning. And what to do? Don't base your decisions on it. Oh, that's interesting. You think that, mind, or it's interesting. I'm learning about that, but you don't give it authoritative weight because it's not your authority speaking, not necessarily. Ooh, some authority speaking. Well, those ego manifestors, they're quite rare, actually. The ones that say we have to, or I don't have to. No, we don't have to. I have royal we, our sovereignty. We need this from you, or not. No, don't need it. Don't have any willpower for it. You know, whatever the case may be with their decision-making process. And you see, there's just that one tribal rule there of education in order to dominate the situation. We missed the 35 in the abstract. I was trying to do them in a kind of making sense order, but of course, abstract can't do that. I'm abstract, what to do? 35, we experience or feel, or we're bored and we want new experiences. I'm bored with this. I want to move on and do something else. I feel like a new experience, or I'm bored. Only the bored are boring, or only the boring are bored. There we go. That's the right way to say it, saying. Now, on the flip side, we just have our logic to go over again. And what I'm going to do is add on a few more keynotes. This is a reminder, a review. 62, I think or not. 16, I experiment, or I identify or not. And then the 31, I lead or not. I lead. Or this is the logical direction. If you elect me, I'll make sure that we get safety and security. Okay, skillful expression. All of these are expression gates. So if you have one of these, this is part of your nature of your expression, your being, your principles for noisy making. Now, the last one, I know I can try or not. This is also very mutative, very powerful. Stop codon in our genetics, meaning this is a very important voice to have that can mutate and change the way the entire world sees itself. Powerful gate. Ra had that gate. Lyrical quality to the tone of the voice. Tone, as in frequency. How are you going to say it? Are you going to say it softly and sweetly and kindly? Individuality responds well to tone. So the way that I say a word has an effect on the meaning of the word. Would you agree? Yeah, big time, especially if you're sensitive to sound. All you individuals, all you fifth lines, when we're sensitive to sound, somebody might be raising their voice and we say, stop screaming at me. Well, you might have some trauma around that, yeah, or drama, or whatever the case may be, sensitivity. It is what it is. Now we're going to remember how we were talking about the throat and its connection to the thyroid and the binary, its dualistic construct. We had the or nots earlier. Now we add on new keynotes. So I'm going to take them in order so I don't confuse anybody as far as what's listed on the slide. I'm going to start over here on the right-hand side. I believe or not can come with this sense of hope, or it can be down in the lows of despair. Experience, I feel like a change, can either encourage others, these are both collective, so they're sharing, or discourage that experience or that feeling. When we look at the last of the abstract down here, I remember the 33. Experience, I experienced this, or nope, don't have any experience in that. See the binary, the polar opposites? This is the like this and that, two sides of the same coin, the coin of expression, which is going to come and go in waves. Why? It's abstract, it's cyclical. So there's a process that takes time with abstract natures of being. Now, if we look at that 45, okay, 45 says I have, and I own, I'm possessive, this is mine, or non-possessive, not mine, nope, I don't own you, or I don't own this, or I don't own that, no, don't want responsibility for you down there, I have my own sovereignty, you know, very entitled 45s, rightly so, it's a genetic lineage thing, imprint thing. Okay, I act, or I know I can try, with caution, that's the gate of caution, or throwing caution to the wind, abandon. Oh, down in the depths of romance, gonna sing that song now, gonna be social or antisocial with caution or abandon. I act, I know I can try. Primary gates of action. Remember, they're pointing at energy. So if we go over to the other side, I said I wouldn't do it, I'm doing it, oh well. The 20 says, I am now, I am here now. I am aware now. I am in movement now. I am myself now. It just says I am, but it's going to be decisive or indecisive. I know, I don't know. Decisive? Yes, it's so. Or indecisive? No, don't know. Why? Often on pulse, all individuality is patterned this way, off or on, there and gone. Remember, empowerment or not. If somebody speaks with a disempowered voice, like Laveena as an example, because she doesn't know that she can make a contribution, you can feel it when there's uncertainty there. Or there's a certainty. I am teaching you, so I know it's true. I know on the other side. I know, or I don't know. I'm gonna insist, or I'm gonna desist. I don't know, I don't know. Unless you really know what you're talking about, it's better to go, I don't know. Because if you pretend you think you know what you're talking about, and then they find out you don't really know what you're talking about, ooh, the embarrassment, the shame, you know, as an undefined Ashna, I know that game. Okay, so if we look at the continuation of our thought processes, speaking, the think, is going to be either reasonable or unreasonable. I'm reasonable in my arguments about my concepts of opinions, logical thought processes, or I'm going to be unreasonable in what I think I'm sharing with you. It's just what's true with logic, and it's pattern oriented towards the future. Remember, thinking is about future based. Same thing too with 16, although here we have the potential for energy, but it's way down there. You see that? Energy way down there. So then this channel has the expression of I identify, or I'm enthusiastic, I experiment. Why? Why is it an experiment? Human design is a logical experiment. Why? Because it has to be tested, validated, and proven in your own life. Are you on the fractal too, to where you can take this on and see through the Maya, the ego I and its lie, through mechanics? Much easier to do if you're a bit more intelligent, but it's to a double-edged sword. More intelligent you are, the smarter your not self is. And it can lie through its teeth and it can bullshit you in any which way and confuse the heck out of you unless you get in touch with your authority and be your own authority. Now, mind is brilliant for others. I'm not dogging on mind for you. Your mind's brilliant for me, mine for you. It's just it doesn't have a place in making our decisions for us. I am, says the 20, this contemplation of the now. decisive or indecisive. Oh, I did that one. Last is says, I lead. Through authority, we want strong leaders, don't you know? We want people who know, as far as logically, what's so. They recognize, they identify. And having authority, a strong authority, means somebody else has elected you to leadership. This doesn't have energy. This is just identity. It's just projected. Somebody who has this full channel, even the alpha, they don't have power unless somebody else elects them to it, because this is part of our democratic leadership. So having influence, the 31, through leadership, I lead with authority, or else I'm powerless. I have powerlessness because nobody is following me. When we look at each of these ways of expressing, they all have their place. They all have their gifts. No one voice is more important than the other, although in context with humans, there is no end to hierarchy. And if I were going to say which one of these is going to rule the day, particularly in a large group where they've got the whole channel, bingo. Why? Power to throat. This is the ancient manifestor construct. However, if the manifestor is standing there telling everybody what so, have to do this, have to do that, and they're being selfish, as in not supporting the tribe down below, somebody's going to come in and off with their head. Because we want empowered people, thank you very much. We don't just want you with your castle in the sky and then everybody else let them eat cake. It's not going to work. Because in this day and age, particularly now in these revolutionary times, when it's the end of revolutions, the revolution to end all revolutions is coming. You being your own authority. If that's not a revolution, I don't know what is, as in you being self-empowered. That's the new era. What an exciting time we live in. What an exciting time to be alive. Now I'm going to give you, where's my link? It's not here. I have to get this link for you. It should be in the course area. This is an article from Alakanandia's manifestor. He's quite flowery and wordy. You have to be in the mood to listen to him. Otherwise, it's just, or maybe too abstract. But I have this as something, where does, in basic principle of the article is, he talks about the nature of what it is to be human and the fact that our communication and action come from this throat center. Where does it come from? Here. And he goes through what's clear to him. Very interesting. Cross of Consciousness, 1-3, triple split. One of Ra's dear friends and translators for many, many years. Okay. In the throat center. Oh, I'm going to let in Oni. Hang on a second. You can quiz yourself, test yourself, remind yourself of what it is to have this throat center. Biologically speaking, what is it about? Oh, it's right there in case you forgot. What type of center is it? What function does it hold? The defined throat center, 71%. They're here to have a what? Undefined throat center, 29%. What can they do? What's the wisdom that's true? Do you recall from your foundational courses? What can an open throat center do? Address the what in the room? Elephant. Yeah. How do you eat an elephant? Very slowly. Manifestation, metamorphosis, it doesn't happen constantly. It happens in spurts. So if it's an open throat, they know or can recognize or can respond to who needs to be paid attention to. Why? Open throat. Some people have fixed things they know that other people need to know too, or they can share or whatever. But then the wisdom beyond compare for an undefined throat. Yes, elephant in the room. So that leads then to who's speaking truth, who's lying, who's having a false narrative just to attract attention. I mean, because this is one of the things that you are so good at, because you're studying this life. When it's undefined, you got planets there. Those are your teachers. Those are where you are beyond compare, because you're learning the wisdom potential of having those activations, those dormant potentials, that through your authoritative process, you can find something truly valuable as a question, as a principle. potentially. Higher principle there. Okay, that's the throat. Welcome to Oni. I'm just going to make you co-host. There we go. And Oni is supporting in the back end. So if anybody comes in, she'll be able to bring them in. Let's take a look at looking for love and direction. Remember, I'm going to take you through all of this again, but from a different order as far as channels are concerned. So don't feel like you have to memorize. We're just wandering through the body graph, and this one particularly is so beautiful, such a gift to have either open as an identity, as a presence of being, as a higher self, or defined. Defined simply means fixed, reliable, trustworthily you. It's not to say that you don't have your own identity, you do. It's just that the strengths inside of a defined G center are something that are very, very narrowly fixed in somebody. And that's, as an example from where we just came, leading us to a fixed style of speaking or acting or behaving in life. Okay, so the question we ask ourselves, oops, I see a chat. Hang on, let me check that. Oh, you can feel the agendas and expectations. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Okay, are we looking for love and direction? I say we. Why? I'm unconsciously defined. Okay, so anytime I don't have love in my life, I'm a basic split. My mind goes, where is he? I want him. You know, might need him. I need a partner. Basic splits. We're looking for the lover, you know, the other, especially a projector. Now, I'm unconsciously defined, so I have my own direction in life, but because the mind is oblivious to it, this mind, before deconditioning and aligning, would still think, what am I going to be when I grow up? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I be this? Should I be that? That's the mind, okay? It's always going to measure and compare. Looking for love and direction in the lives of others, though, when you are open or undefined, that's the thing to be aware of, really, truly. Because if you base your decisions trying to model yourself, let's say you're modeling yourself, your business after somebody else's business, that's never going to work because you are utterly unique. There's a huge amount of copycatting going on there. And in fact, let me go out a little bit here. When we look at this identity, and I circle or highlight, outline, there we go, outline this area of the body graph, whenever we have small businesses that really know their stuff and they're really outperforming, along comes somebody else and copies that business idea, tries to improve upon it. Pentas, 3 to 5 people in a group, it's called a penta. They're insanely material and competitive. So this can happen that you're in aura with other people, and now you are not yourself. This is especially true when you're undefined here. If you're undefined here, that means you have no channels there. But it can even happen, I'm telling you a little story about Laveena and her experience, because sometimes it helps to land the information. Welcome, Dinesh. The 1-8. This is someone who is here to be an expression, a demonstration of the group dynamic. And so what happens? Becomes something other than self, stands for, as an example of whatever's being generated in that group. So if you're in a group that's not right for you, ooh, unlucky you, you get to be somebody who is speaking as the spokesperson of the group, and then everybody looks at you like you're the one to attract attention and you're the one to get new clients in. And what if you really don't believe in the mission, or it's not right for you to be a part of that group anymore because maybe their admin ain't working right, or maybe their accounting ain't doing great, you know, their business model is failing, whatever, doesn't matter. We are so helpless and choiceless, you have no idea. If I could just take some of the recognitions I've had over the years and implant them into your head, I would, and you would be shocked. And you would be like, yeah, this is really fun stuff, because it's like peeling back the curtain of the illusion, of the delusion that we all live in. Okay. We are going to come back to this, and I'm going to explain like spokes of a wheel, how each one of these gates, the two great houses of the wheel of incarnation, love and direction. We are all mechanisms of expression or embodiment of love or direction. And indeed, all of it at the G, the higher self. How do you open your high heart? Be yourself in unconditional love to go in the right direction. Simple, not easy. Just be your own authority and you'll see. Now the G center corresponds to our liver and blood. That means it goes through the entire body because blood is everywhere, yes? Upper right side of the abdomen, it says for liver. Now, where do we feel the G though? I tend to feel it up here, high heart area, right underneath the sternum, okay? But technically, it corresponds to the liver and blood. Blood, technically, 25th gate, the blood, okay? What the liver does is it filters blood to remove toxins and waste products. It stores nutrients, vitamins, minerals, iron. It manages the levels of certain chemicals, such as cholesterol and hormones and sugars. It helps with digestion and bile. It processes hemoglobin and blood clotting factors. So basically, it's responsible for filtering. Now, you got an undefined G center. You have an inconsistency or a variability to how your liver processes, not just the blood, but also any chemicals, chemistry, the drugs, alcohol, you name it. So be very careful here. Take care of the liver. Very important, especially with an undefined G. Now, this is the place in space where the magnetic monopole sits. It resides in the G center, literally at gate 2. And this is a magnet that has one pole. It attracts. What it's attracting is me to me, you to you, the design crystal and the personality crystal. It's holding them together in this illusion, in this bodily illusion of being separate from the totality. We wouldn't have a body without this magnetic G. So it's the reference point around which everything moves. Without a G, this magnetic monopole, we would have no sense of differentiation. So everyone has everything. And if you have a gate 2, then your magnetic monopole has a very specific, we could say patterning or pulse or imprinting. It's the right word. Without the G, the identity, the magnetic monopole, literally, we would feel absolutely one with totality. It reminds me of Ra being asked, what's the perfect design? And he said, no imprint, one with the vast sea of openness. Is that a reality? Not in this form, Ra, but you know, to be clear, everyone has a magnetic monopole, and it is the reason we have differentiation or uniqueness. It creates the illusion that we are separate. And just like the liver, it's constantly filtering. It creates this is me, that is you illusion, because the separation of the magnetic monopole from the design crystal is literally what builds the body. Okay, it builds the body. It builds the body through your auric frequency, your chemistry, your vibrational harmony or not, your resonance principle or not. Your body is built on the aura. The physicality is built through the frequency. So get the frequency right. That's what human design is doing. I'm just doing this information feed to feed your mind, to give you time to decondition and align while you experiment with your human design. That's all I'm doing, to entertain your mind, to give it something to do other than making decisions for you. Because that's what gets you all fucked up, is your mind believing the mind inside your head about yourself. That's all it is. Love and direction. That's what these two great arms of the cross. There I have the little Sphinx, okay? These 8 gates in the G center. Vessel of love is in red. This is a magical center. Everybody gets all hopped up on it. Oh, I wish I had that. You know, you don't have it, but everybody does have it. It pulls the entire wheel together into a core. Just like the magnetic monopole pulls us into this body, this vehicle, it brings the personality and the design crystal together. It holds us together for the duration of this life until it's time to let go and separate and go back to source. The wheel itself, yes, it's a calendar, and these G center gates are a mechanism of connecting us up with the totality of existence. So when you have gate activations as an imprinting, particularly these crosses, this as a channel especially, that channel helps you comfort other people with the direction we're all going in. But you can't force that on anybody. You might just know it and live it, exemplify it. Hi. You might just lead it, you know, alphas. You might just witness it, the prodigals. You all have different ways of experiencing it. You do have this, whether it's colored in or not. If you have gate activations that are there, this is where you are learning from whatever planetary aspect you are learning about that principle. Is it love or is it direction? It alternates within the design. Love and direction, love and direction, love and direction. These 8 gates are a key to the wheel. They are the leading gates of the 8 houses of the I Ching. When we go into analyst work, if you like to, we are going to study more about the elemental I Ching. These gates also touch all 12 zodiacal signs. So it's like this great linking, patterning within the construct of the mandala wheel, this beautiful, magnificent map that we were looking at. Now, every single hexagram, we'll call them lead hexagrams. Every single lead hexagram of the G provide the basic foundation, that lower trigram, as we looked at earlier, of each of the following 7 gates. So you see all the yang lines, okay? And then we have changes. Right here is where those yang lines change. And we have a break in that, a changed line. Now it's yin. And if we look down here, same thing, see the principle, all of them, yang, yang, and then a yin, until we get to the next lead hexagram. And we see yang, yin, yang, okay? So that's how it works. It just changes, and it's the same patterning all the way around the wheel. So you can see the linkages between how things move and change around this mandala when it comes to love or direction, love or direction, love or direction. It sets the tone or the theme for the rest of those gates that come after. Okay, so this one we see yang and 2 yins. And then further down, we see the primary yin. So now we're directly opposite in the wheel. Not only that, we're directly opposite in the body graph too. You see the 1 and the 2? That binary couplet of, not couplet, that's line qualities. That binary polarity, okay? All yang, the creative, and all yin, okay? All yin, yin. Exactly opposite in the wheel. Now, if those 2 are exactly opposite in the wheel, and what I've been telling you is that there's a foundational element that is linked all the way around these great houses of the I Ching, wouldn't it make sense that every other one is exactly polar opposite in the wheel too? Because they are. Isn't that magical? Exactly opposite. So we see all of these foundational, the lower trigram, all exactly the same. Of course, on the other side, we have all yang lines. And that pattern moves all the way through, exactly polar opposite in the wheel too. Here we have yin, 2 yins and a yang, and that sets up the rest of this. Okay, yins and a yang. Oh, there it changes again. We've got yin, yang, yin. Okay. So I see a little message, mirror. Yeah, there are mirrors, oppositions in the wheel, not necessarily in the body graph. That's 2 different things. We have mirrors in the body graph with this example. If we see the 7, you see up here, 7 and 13, those are oppositions in the wheel. Isn't that nice? Sometimes it happens like that. So real interesting dynamics here. Just giving you a little orientation to looking around the wheel, and oh, there we have the change again. We have the yin, yang, yang. And then we're back at the beginning again. All right, so when you're looking at these, I'm going to go around it one more time. And just as you soft gaze and are aware, and remember, you are beyond compare. I just love saying that. It is true. The awareness principle, I'm going to bring up this image so that I make sure that you are looking at this correctly. We're going to start back here at the beginning. Okay, not only they provide the foundation of the lower trigram, each of these following gates, but if we were to truly begin, instead of beginning at the 1, begin at the quarter of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind, we would start here. Why? Because this realm up here, this is the beginning of Hades. This is death and reincarnation up here, okay? As far as, hey, everything that dies gets to be reborn again. And we enter into this incarnative process by looking back directionally. This is the beginning of the mind's process, order of initiation, purpose fulfilled through mind, where Laveena was born. Hi, right here. Okay. The 13 is secrets. It looks at the past. It looks backwards. Okay. Opposite in the wheel, 7 is looking forward. It's logic. It's looking forward. That's direction, right? Now, that's one arm of the Sphinx cross. Remember the little Sphinx? It looks like this. 2 arms, a head, and a tail. That's the Sphinx. Think like Neptune's trident. Okay, we've got the trident thing going on here. Oh, that was ugly. Let me do it again. The trident, much more clear. Okay, that's the energy that's there. Okay, so if we saw direction looking back as the 13 and direction looking forward into the future, well, then we also need the direction here, okay, of the vehicle. The G center, remember how we were talking about the G center and its magnetic monopole? It pulls me to me and you to you, like the arm of a streetcar. It's pulling us along our path and our trajectory in space. Helplessly, choicelessly, we are on a karmic path of transpersonal karma fulfillment, or a personal destiny game, or a fixed fate. Now here with the 2, this is directional. It's just the direction. Pure direction, but the expression, direction of the vehicle, because it's all yin, it's form, it's earth. Here, the yang principle. That means expression of now, the creative expression of now, creativity. Okay. Ooh, what happened there? It didn't like what I was doing. There we go, back here. Okay, so we are finished with the arms of the Sphinx. That's all direction. That's all part of the projection or response. Now, further, we have to look at love. What is love? Love is about either the self or the world as it is. This one plays a dualistic role. Love is about humanity. Those 2 are oppositions in the wheel. Love is about the transcendence in order to find unconditional love, universal love, or love is about the body. Now, these are all transcendent gates of love. Transcendent meaning finding love through an other, whilst this one also operates personally too. So you know that little song when you were a kid, I'm a little teacup, short and stout. Here is my handle, and here is my spout, right? Unconditional love or universal love filled into the body, which is the life, the embodiment of the form, the great good fortune and good luck to be reborn in this body. Then marry that to the love of humanity, and out pours from the lip of the Li, the love of self. That's what these beings are here to do. Thank you, Dinesh, for being an expression of love in the world. You know, that's what your job description is. That's what your role is. Again, remember these arms, they connect us to the all that isness of our directional beingness, as well as our experience of embodying and expressing love in the world. The true love, the authentic love, the love that you may be yearning and burning for, it's actually found within. Even though your mind is playing games, tricks on you to believe that which is not true, you are separate and you are alone. In truth, we are all one. And in our connection to our higher self, our knowingness of being this truth in alignment with truth, as in truly, Ra's joke is, you want love? Die. You get it immediately. This is where the Ajna crystal sits, body, design crystal in the Ajna. And remember how the form builds the body, or the aura builds the body? The two, the magnetic monopole, where the magnetic monopole sits. When you die, when gate 29 says no to life, instead of pulling these two together, the two crystals of consciousness, it just detaches from pulling the personality. Personality is done with the body. Even though the personality still wants to use the body is like, nope, we're done. This separates, it reunites with the two, and then it leaves. So all this longing and yearning for finding wholeness, it's already inside of you. It's just that we live in an illusion of separation. Now, of course, in the mundane world, oh, but we need a partner, says mind. We need to have partners. We need to have friends. We need to have families, familiars. Yes, we are all tribal beings too. But just truly, authentically, intrinsically know that you are your own best friend, lover, as in this personality riding around on this vehicle in this body with this one precious life. You can either be at odds for the rest of your life, or you can surrender. This is where the surrender happens, Stefan. Surrender to the body, which is the life, the form principle, and allow it to do its thing rather than trying to attempt to control or manipulate or have distortions run the show. So to go back, direction, looking at the past, okay? This is love, universal love. Then we have direction, here and now. And then we have love of humanity. And then we have direction, looking into the future. And then we have love of the body. And then we have the direction of the self, or the creative self-expression. And the last but not least, wintertime, where I live anyway, we have the love of self. So human design was born from the nature of unconditional love of self, activations in Ra's chart. It is the principle that we're here to teach, that we're here to embody, live, breathe, and be. Okay, that was a lot of information telling you the story of integration, all of this stuff. You have all of this. You have access to all of this. It's just that you're either receptive or not. You may be fixed instead of flexible. Okay, wherever you're open, you're receptive to learning and wisdom potential. True wisdom lies in the openness. Wisdom, because all kinds of stuff, all kinds of ways. If a gate can operate in 1,080 different ways with 1,080 different points of imprinting, then when you're open there, you can take all of that in. You can sample, you can sort, you can measure, you can compare, you can experience different things. But when you have it locked into your chemistry, your individuality, as an example, like me, then that fixedness, that very genetic inherent truth is your strength in this life. It is your job description. Look at your centers and see them as job descriptions. The channels are your talents, your gifts, your naturalness maybe, or your discovery principle, whatever it happens to be. So this right here, you could go so deep. We could dive so much further. I feel like that's enough for that one now. Just a few more points of clarification. Differentiation allows for love. Again, love of humanity, self, inanimate objects, the universe, the body. The opposite is true too with any of this, just like it's an or not principle, there can be hate, like the 15, responsible for genocide. Without differentiation, there would be no room for this duality of me to me, you to you, and then coming together in our specificity to experience each other. Without it, meaning the G, the higher self, there would be one universal love, but no body to experience it. So this is the dance of duality that we live in. Now, which way is your direction? Whether you have it defined or not, you have a direction, just like we were talking about with the throat. You have a voice, obviously. You can speak, unless you've had some kind of surgery or, heaven forbid, deformity. When it comes to the expression of you, these roles or masks that we wear, you can link it to your personality and design line quality, your profile. Okay, your profile has the potential to tell you all you need to know about any one of these gates, even if you don't have an activation. And we talk more about that when we get to role gates in this course. Now, if there's no differentiation, then we wouldn't have any unique direction. If all is one, there's nowhere to go. With differentiation, we have a reference point. I'm going straight in relationship to that or to you. Our G center, think of it like a compass. Okay, link that G center as a compass. It creates what is left, right, up, down through differentiation, through the self. When we get higher in the elevation of your learning, either for yourself or for others, you're going to learn how this is the one place in space that we get pulled from design and personality together through the nodes of the moon. One place where we connect up. And if you're not operating in alignment, then what happens is you don't have your direction be authentic to you. It's homogenized and it's not necessarily true. And then what you experience is frustration, anger, bitterness, disappointment. So what's your self? If we're all one and there is no you, me, or we, there's just this itness of being. No mind, no identity, no body, no distinction between you and me and the totality. Bodies have form differentiation in order to have this experience. You are a human body, or you evaporate into the oneness. Now, what's your place? If you don't live strategy or honor your own self as your sovereign authority, then you don't find place. Define G or not. You don't go in the right space. You're not with the right people. And what outer authority is our unique, differentiated perspective given to each other, non-agendized. Outer authority is pure communion of the awareness principle without trying to manipulate or get something out of somebody. That's seven-centered business. Why not just be aware? Aware that you are beyond compare. It's all about awareness, seeing, seeing, seeing. So outer authority is your purpose in life because all of you have outer authority. And that cannot develop properly unless you're in the right place. Remember linking that to the undefined G, the higher self. You're so sensitive if you have it open there to place and people, because in a place you amplify the people. So what's your self? You learn to experience that self through others as a projector, because a projector is not about trying to figure out self. others. You learn as a generator in your response to be who you are for yourself first, the pure enlightened selfishness, self-fullness, not as in centeredness, as in narcissistic, but self-centering, centering within on oneself. That is the principle that is key. Now, love, direction, identity, liver, and blood. What's the biological correlation? Oh, it's right there. Type of center, what is it? What's its function? The defined G, what do they be? Fixed in their direction or identity. But what about the undefined G? What's your wisdom? Do you remember? Wisdom of the undefined G. What's your role there in this totality? To know the wisdom of place and people and role, not fixed, flexible. Yeah. Not self-strategy, trying to find what? What is a not self-strategy of an open G? Love and direction, looking for love and direction in the lives of others. Remember, role modeling yourself after another. Oh, so not satisfying, so not successful. I used the business example this time. But what if you were looking up to someone, you thought, oh my God, they've made it, they've got it all, they're amazing, I want to be like that when I grow up. You're here to be you, unapologetic and true. Okay, now we have enough time to finish off the heart, but I feel like you might need a break. Do you? Do you need a little focus break? Or are you okay to keep going? You okay to keep going? Okay. All right. We are almost done then. There's only 4 gates here. The heart, the willpower function, that tiny little motor that has so many different mind-boggling, my mind said, biological associations that it's mind-boggling. It truly is. And so it's a complex, quite complicated little center that wreaks a lot of havoc in people's lives. Why? Because it's the primary, not self-purpose. When it comes to centers, it's at the top of the hierarchy. Why? Because of all the, oh, my mind said religious trauma and dogma, genetic, ancestral. I mean, it's all here as far as the challenge to waking up. There is this bridge that everyone has to cross in order to leap out of the tribe and into the higher self. So it's a very tricky piece of business. A lot of things going on here. Let's explore. Okay. Interestingly, where you can see this heart center lies is off to the side. So you don't necessarily see the dynamic of the mirrored channels here, where this one's quite short and this one's longer. You may not know, but they are mirrored just so. As in, one's quite the cold fish, okay? Cold on this side pointing that way. Yet the heart, this one is a hot gate, as in heated, killer instinct, killer T cells. But on the other side, this 40 is pointing at the emotional system. Now that emotional system operates on a wave. It's warm, as in, if it needs you, oh, you need me, I need you. Let's bond together over food. Yeah, let's feed each other. Let's protect each other, maybe. You know, these both are mirrors to each other when it comes to the deliverance on the promise of the tribe, or the furtherance of the success of the tribe, the maintenance of our material plane, or the control mechanism that is in charge of tribes, not just one family. We're talking big business here, 21s. We are here not to ever have a boss or somebody lording it over us, telling us what to do. It's very challenging, the most challenging, in fact, dynamic to have in relational bonding, whether that happens to be in business or in family. Okay, there are some really strong tension points within the tribal construct. This one is a mechanical channel that is in charge of large businesses, nations even. It's a big deal, big hairy deal, my mind said. Okay, now I've talked about the tribe, but what about this little guy up here? The 51 gives us our connection to shock and individuation. It gives us our courage to step out of the tribal laws and rules and obeyances. Now, biologically speaking, we're talking about the stomach for the 40, the heart muscle, or the masseter muscle as well with the 21. It says biting through for a reason, biting through negative and persistent interference, the 21. Taking charge, being in control, heart. Now, 51 is the gall. You gotta have some gall, some courage to leap out of the tribal rules and to strike it off on your own and do your own thing and go in your own way and be empowered. Gall, okay, the gall. And this 26, again, like killer, is moving towards instincts. Killer, T cells, the thymus gland as well. So it's very complicated, this heart center. Now it's the home of money. Money, honey. Show me the money, honey. You want to find the money? Money's be here, because this is part of the money channel. So this brings us the will or not for improvement and accumulation on the material plane. Or not is a real truth here. No, I'm not about the money. No, I really don't want to be about money. No, I'm about spirituality, or whatever the case may be. But this is where we promise and prove. Very few gates. Look at all these different biological associations. These are some major functions of the body. And it's related physically to the material plane. Not just the material plane, because this is where we have the stream of capitalism, but also it's related to the spiritual awakening. Okay, so that's the mirror here. Now, interestingly, you see these two mirrors here. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. It's not quite a mirror, because money is just one thing. Over here to awakening, the separation here, the higher self. We need initiation first, and then we have awakening. So the interesting dynamic here, stomach. Anybody ever fast? Longest I've done is 14 days. Fasting for spiritual purpose, healing, energy purposes? No. Fasting. Fasting is getting rid of those things in the stomach as far as the food. It helps you get rid of the history, of the memory of being in tribes in order to leap out of the tribe. If you've ever taken ayahuasca, you know you can't eat on that stuff. You don't eat, you fast. This is part of the nature. Here, the dynamic to prepare in order that one can go to the higher realms, the higher self. Okay? It's not just about the physical material plane. It can be about empowering spirituality, or on furtherance, talking about big business here. Remember how we were talking about the dynamic of kings and queens, rulers, pashas, emperor, empress, over here with the modern day CEO, we have to, must, should. Here we have the priesthood, very different. Yeah, the papal relations, or the Pope, or whoever, back in the day of King Arthur, Merlin, you know, this mystical, magical mystery tour that I'm taking you on. We begin in the heart with being in control, because this is the dominant one. This is the one that is in charge. Pressure to prove oneself through biting through, this hunter or huntress, supports through control, being in charge, doing the dirty work. Okay, if the 45 is the spokesperson of the tribe, 21 is the one that actually gets things done. 45 being the figurehead, 21 hiring people, ensuring that people have work, ensuring people know the right values, what they can or cannot support within that tribal community or business or whatever. This is what we are here for. And that heart pumps blood around the entire body, this vacuum system of the heart muscle. It pumps and then it rests. It pumps and then it rests. The heart itself center requires that. It requires rest. It's not a motor like the sacral. Okay. Masseter muscle because biting through. So temporomandibular joint dysfunction, too much stress, that's coming from the 21. To be in control for these people, whether it's defined center or not, is healthy. These are people who are required to be given control. You're a projector, you need to be recognized, you need to recognize in return, have a formal invitation, it needs to be right for you to take control or to be in control. Generators, you have to respond in order to be in control. Be emotionally clear if it's right for you. Manifestors, this is the one place where asking permission, as in informing, is a little bit more polite way of being, and it's going to get you less resistance as far as anger is concerned. Reflectors, waiting a lunar cycle before, after the initiation of, hey, you want to be in control of finances? And then feeling into it. Is it really right for me to take control of the finances, to be responsible, and that kind of thing? So it operates differently. I'm going into this specifically here because it's very clear, according to Ra. Every gate is going to be linked to your specific either view or body, your real construct of what you came here for. So it has to come back to type, strategy, and authority in all of it. Now, this heart center wants to be immortalized. This one is about being first, being competitive, again, having the gall. This is the pressure to prove oneself through the arousing, the gate of shock, gate of courage. I am first, it might say. Okay. And then finally, oh, I got to go to the gallbladder. Forgot about that. Gallbladder is a pear-shaped organ, stores bile, the gall, that the body needs for digestion. And the bile is released when food containing fat enters the digestive tract. So the heart center, not being an awareness center, nor being subtle, it's full of gall, egoism. They're all big ego gates. It's powerful enough on the biological level to digest almost anything that we might put in food into our mouths. This ego can get you through almost anything. They have the courage to withstand shock, or they might say shocking things. These are the people who are bold. They might carry initiatives in business or in family. Now, we have the heart center about fulfilling the bargain of the 40. This one I just did a whole bunch on. I might release part of it for sure on the YouTube channel. Through the line qualities, very interesting. Fulfilling the bargain of the family or being in community, meaning there's this pressure to prove oneself through deliverance, as in, I support as a provider. I take care of your needs because I work for you. Now, the work bargain has to come with an emotional offer because the 40 needs support. What does it need? Affection, loyalty. Example, you're 40 and your lover cheated on you and you're tribal. Ooh, that's not going to work. That 40 is not going to provide for the 37 that is disloyal or hasn't given the affection. This is touch. Tribal is touch. Tribal is need-based. It's an aloneness gate, which means it needs its separation or its protection from being always with others. It needs time alone, that 40. Again, the stomach. I can't stomach this, you might hear yourself say. You might feel a drop in the pit of the stomach when your stomach's talking to you. You might not be able to eat, nervous, not able to digest, not able to bond over food. The stomach's main job is to break down large food particles into smaller molecules, smaller pieces so that they can be absorbed into the blood more easily. And this stomach can secrete 2 to 3 liters of gastric fluid per day. So it is always going to be about food here with the stomach, making sure that the tribe has enough of it. The bargain is fill my stomach, or in other words, feed my ego, and I will work for you. I will work for you to deliver on the promise of the tribe. I will work for you. Now, is it right for you to work for everybody? No. But in order to get your support met, like the yearning or longing for touch, that is something that all human beings crave. So the heart center, next one, last one for the 26, is protecting. This is logic, think survival. Surviving, again, survival, being the best. Being the best means we are going to exaggeratedly promise and prove, or not, it might censor. This is the pressure to prove oneself through the taming power of the great or the egoist, which supports as an egoist. I am the best. It's one of the things that it might say. Or we are the best. It is tribal after all. Now, thymus gland and the killer T cells for the 26, so the biological correspondence here. That thymus gland belongs to the endocrine system, the upper anterior portion of the chest, and its role is in the development of the immune system in early life, and its cells form a part of the body's normal immune system, the T cells. So that's where the T cells are formed. This gland creates a direct connection between heart and splenic system. T cells are killer cells. They kill anything that invades the system with an exaggeration. So the instinctive memory process, or the ego memory, remember this, the 26 is in control of memory. That's why they can be seen as liars and exaggerators. Whenever there's a threat to the body, it's the T cells that are going to bombard that threat with its complete exaggeration until it's annihilated. This is where you get the terms like killer instinct or the war room when it comes to making money, because this is part of the stream of capitalism. Okay, so you had your heart center with its egoic nature, every single gate about some kind of control, particularly on the material plane. Your stomach, heart, gallbladder, thymus, and killer T cells. So when you test yourself, what is the biological correlation? What type of center is it? What's its function? With the defined heart center, what are they here for? Promise and prove. They have something to prove. What is the undefined here for? What can it do? Do you remember? What is the wisdom of an undefined heart? If you don't know your own worth and worthiness, can you measure and compare out there? What's worthy? Who can keep a promise? Who can prove? Yeah, you recognize that? The not self strategy of an undefined heart. What will it do? Because it doesn't know its own worth, it has a lack of self-worth, it has a lack of a self-esteem, okay? Not knowing its own value, what will it do? What does the heart center do? Spend tons of money, buy everything. Yeah? Doesn't an undefined heart love material plane business, shopping? Is that really going to be sustainable in the long term? Nope. Problems with bankruptcy, credit card debt, all kinds of things. This is where, surgeries in order to be the best, or more and more degrees. That's some of the not self strategies. Okay. Now, I have the rest of this for your review as you wish, whenever it's right for you. There's a link in the course area where you can just fly on through, cover it up, test yourself, remind yourself some of the answers of the little quizzes that I showed at the end. Okay, I won't read it again, but just some fun stuff to look at and play with. I kind of like flying around like this. I think it's fun. If it makes you sick, sorry. I don't mean to do it too fast. But that's part of the homework process. Looking, testing, seeing what you can see as you wander around our mystical, magical mystery tour of all the things that we've learned about in this particular class. It was a lot. Any questions on what it is that you would like to discuss, or any recognition, self-realization that you want to share? I found this particularly interesting when I came across it. Some of this stuff I'm like gathering from a lot of different places. The fact that these, if they had a voice, what would they say? I quite liked that when I came across it. I'm like, oh, that's really helpful, because it puts it into context, doesn't it? I support through control. It's my only control gate, heart gate. This is what I came here for. Not everybody, but control of my own material plane business. I'm a 21.3. So what that means is that I have to be my own boss. It's a necessary reality. And whenever there is somebody lording it over me, right now Jupiter's doing that. Oof, I don't really want to be on the material plane. Don't want to deal with this stuff. Don't have the heart for it. No. What to do? It happens every 12 years. When you start to see how people affect you, or you affect them, when you start to see how transits affect you, you really know for truth that we are a program within a program, looking at a program, and that the mind is simply a collection of programs and conditioning. And that's why we have to source into this physical body, the body sensations, why I oftentimes try to get you to link to what does it feel like for you? Not just mental stuff, but the body, the embodiment, the form, being committed to this body.